think, act, and prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show, where we think, act, and prosper. And today I have a special guest for you all. So this special guest has an amazing story, has been around some of the biggest legends in hip hop, and has a lot of intellect and knowledge on how to operate a business, especially in the realm of music and being able to build a music business around a artist. And so I want to welcome Wendy Day today. How are you doing today?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yes, it's amazing. I actually ran across your material from Ruslan's channel about a year ago. It was either a year or two ago. And I just started consuming a lot of your material on YouTube. And then I started following the Instagram. So it was just like, okay, you know, I need to get this stuff. And so I actually do music myself, which my audience knows a little bit about. But, you know, I'm really interested in just like the level of finance behind it, and as well as like the business aspect and when you get into streaming and stuff like that. But we'll get into a lot of that. So for the audience, could you give a background? I know you have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, but could you give a background for our audience here?
Absolutely. I'll try to keep it short so your eyes don't glaze over, because I've been doing this for 30 years. So I could really talk for an hour just on what I've done.
It's a hefty resume.
I started listening to hip hop as a fan. And I just feel like it's always important to say that, because I'm very much part of the culture. And I think that's one of the secrets of my success, is that I understand hip hop, I understand rap music, I understand people of color, which is where hip hop started and where it came from. I understand the history. I'm part of the history. So I came to it based on community, not just trying to hit a lick and make money. I started listening in 1980, and most of your viewers weren't even born yet. In 1992, I started Rap Coalition, which is a not-for-profit organization. It pulls artists out of bad deals. And that not-for-profit still exists today. It's 30 years old. Yay, go Rap Coalition. And I realized about 3 or 4 years into starting the company that just getting somebody out of a bad deal isn't enough. So because I had seen so many crappy deals, I felt like I could really get somebody into a good deal. So the very first deal that I got to work on was Master P's deal. I helped him get that 80-20 split at Priority and retain his masters. From there, I went on to do Twista's deal. I worked with Do or Die, helped them put out Po Pimp, their first single. I did Eminem's deal, the Cash Money deal, David Banner's deal, Trouble's deal. I've worked with so many artists and helped them get deals over the years, but just getting a deal doesn't guarantee success in the music industry. So I realized around about 2005 that if an artist could make money with their music and stay independent as long as possible, then not only would they get a better deal because they'd have more leverage, but they wouldn't necessarily have to do a deal with a major label. They could stay independent and make the lion's share of the money themselves. And that's always been preferable to me, because I just feel that entrepreneurialism is the way out of the struggle.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, just even a lot of my childhood, just legends and people that I've looked up to, and music that I've listened to and grew up on, just how you were in close circles with them and being able to help them with that. And I don't know if you mentioned Tupac in there. I mean, that's one of the legends right there. And
Yes.
Could you share just a little bit about your experience with Tupac?
Absolutely. I forgot to mention Tupac, and I forgot to mention Lil Donald, And we took him gold independently last year, and they're kind of, two big ones to leave out. But when Tupac passed away, I was in the process of shopping him a new deal. He had delivered the 3 albums that he owed Death Row, and he was looking for a new situation. And his goal was to bring people back together. Like, he had kind of helped to divide the East Coast and the West Coast. And he did a really good job, but his goal was to bring everybody back together. He wanted to drop an album called One Nation, and I was shopping distribution for his deal Euthanasia when he was killed. Very sad, which was 25 years ago last week.
Yeah, and he was just so young as well, just
25.
I'm 33 now. And so I'm thinking, like, man, Tupac was 25. So he was really young, had a lot of potential. I mean, he's lived up to a lot of his potential. Yes. His name's still, a legend today. But, just so young is very unfortunate. I appreciate you sharing that. And so some of this, so a lot of what we talk about here on the Money Level Show is the importance of financial education. And I know you've worked with a lot of artists. I mean, you've been in the culture. We've seen people who have signed bad deals, people who have blew a lot of money on objects that lose value, or, just kind of play their cards kind of wrong. So what is your take on the importance of financial education in hip hop, as we see, even with hip hop being kind of intertwined with the basketball culture? We've seen, sports players, get signed $1 million deals and then
blow it.
End up blowing it. So what's your take on the importance of that?
It's so frustrating, because I come from a very lower middle class background. And even though I went to an amazing school system and got an amazing education, we were never taught about money. We were never taught about credit. We were never taught to balance a checkbook. It was almost like we were pushed out into life with no money skills whatsoever. So I did what most people did when they came right out of school. I went to college. I lived off of my credit cards. I would work in the summer, but I would live off my credit cards all year. And I didn't realize the value of credit. So when I blew it and my credit went into the negative and I had to start over, I didn't bankrupt myself, although in hindsight I should have. To me, that was like the last thing that you want to do. That's just how I was raised. Like, you don't welch on your bets and you don't declare bankruptcy, but I should have. And it would have given me a fresh start and I would have learned. So instead, I had really bad credit for like the first 10 years out of college. And that's a really difficult time to have bad credit, because that's the time when you're trying to buy your first house, you're trying to buy your first car, you're paying back student loans. It's just a very precarious time where if somebody had taught me how to make money, I would have been in a much better situation than having to sort of learn it myself. I didn't learn how to really make and invest money until 2003, when I got into real estate. And then I learned how to flip houses before it was, fashionable, before everybody else was doing it. So, and I was doing it in Memphis, which was a really affordable city to flip real estate. It was a great city to flip real estate, to be honest. And
I also went Wendy in real estate too. I'm a real estate agent, so I talk to my audience a little bit about that. So
I make more money in real estate than I do in music. Right now, I'm building co-working spaces. Over the next 3 years, I'm going to build 5 of them. Our first one's going to open probably around December 1. So I'm literally building out 30,000 square feet as I'm sitting here talking to you.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. I do real estate work too up here in Washington. The market's kind of crazy up here with, everything that happened last year and people moving into the suburbs and all of that. But yeah, that's amazing to hear.
So I'm not flipping right now because it's not, I'm in Atlanta and it's just not profitable to flip. It's a buyer's market. So I can't find anything cheap enough to renovate. And then it's so expensive to renovate right now because of COVID. Everybody was kind of renovating. So building supplies like are just priced through the roof. So I had to find another way to make money other than flip, which is why I'm doing the co-working spaces. But back to music, we're not here to talk about real estate. The music industry is really, really, really expensive. And that's something that nobody ever tells artists as they're coming up. Most artists think you make music, you do the best that you can, you put the music out, and then somebody discovers you and puts you on. And that's really not the case. You know, there's 60,000 uploads to Spotify every week. So the competition out here is super fierce. And the labels sign the artists that have the best streaming numbers and the best touring numbers together, not one or the other, but together, because that's how they make their money. So when an artist removes the risk for a label, that's when the label comes in and signs them. But that's not necessarily a great thing, because when a label signs you, they'll sign you to like a 15 to 18% deal. So they're making the lion's share of the money. You know, they're making 82 to 85% of the money, and the artist is paying back everything that's being spent on them before they see $1. And they're paying it back out of their little 15 to 18% share. So
it's like a loan. It's almost like a loan.
It's very much like a loan, except that if you don't recoup, you don't owe anybody any money. If you get dropped and walk away, you don't owe anybody any money. And it's unlike a loan in that if I take a mortgage out on a house, when I finish paying it off, I own it. In the music industry, you don't own it after you pay everything back. The label still owns it. You just pay back all the marketing and recording costs. It's really kind of sharecropping, to be honest.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. And even thinking about that, like I read your book, How to Get a Record Deal, and you talked about 360 deals and the nature of all of those and stuff. And so it's definitely expensive. I mean, me being an artist myself, I've seen the expensive side. I mean, even recently, like just, you know, getting another artist on the feature, I had a hard time doing it, not because I couldn't financially do it. It was just like, man, I could just put this into some stocks. I could put this into crypto.
Into real estate or Bitcoin. Exactly.
You know,
and you think that you're going to put out a song that has a feature, and it's really not going to help you until you already have a buzz and people kind of know who you are. Then it'll help you. It's good for getting from mid-level up a step, but it's not good for when you're starting or you're just bubbling a little bit. You've got to kind of be at that next level for a feature for people to even care that you have one. Isn't that sad?
Exactly.
Sad.
Yeah, it is. I was reading about some of I think I was sharing some of the artists that I have heard that have put big features on. Like I didn't even hear the songs that they featured the big features on. I heard them like
that's
later.
the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Once you start to know who somebody is, then the feature makes you go, oh shit, he did a song with him, he got him. But when nobody knows who you are, it doesn't really help you.
Yeah, that is some good,
and then on the industry side of it, it makes all the sharks and the snakes come out, because if you do a song, let's say you have Little Boosie on a song, and somebody sees that you have Boosie on a song and they don't know who you are, in their mind, whether you have a relationship or not with him, you paid around 10 or 20 grand to get him on the song. Therefore, you must have money. So now all the scam artists are coming at you, trying to sell you services, trying to sell you a dream, because it looks like you might have some money. And this is a very shark infested industry.
Yeah. So let's unpack this a little bit. So, so whenever you are becoming a music artist, I mean, it's very expensive. It's almost like a business. Say, like if you were getting into retail, some type of retail business where you were selling some type of product, and you have to work hard at marketing, location, all these different things.
Your music is a product.
And so
it's no different. It's a startup. You're a startup.
Yeah, exactly. And so whenever doing that, what kind of how does this relate to like doing like some type of regular business? Say like if I was to open a shop downtown in the city that you're in or the city that I'm in, versus being a music artist. What do you feel are some of the key differences there?
I think the differences are that you don't have to buy stock. If you were going to be a retail business, you don't have to outfit an entire store with product so that you can turn around and sell it. But your product is you. So you've got to have an image that's attractive to people. And I don't mean handsome or beautiful. I mean an image that people can relate to. Mm-hmm. You've got to connect with your fans, and then there's got to be a reason for them to support you. And that reason is liking your music. So it's more of an emotional sell than like soap or deodorant, which everybody needs. You don't necessarily need to buy the new artist or the new music. You've got to kind of like it in order to support it, right?
It's almost like a Kirby vacuum. I mean, a lot of people don't need it, but they'll come in and they'll give you the emotion of it. They'll give you, they'll clean your carpet, make it look really nice, and everything. And then, so they try to feed you based off the emotional aspect of it. And then you can decide if you like it or not.
And then you decide, you hear your favorite artist story or the new and upcoming artist story, and you decide whether you like them or not. And on top of that, you decide if you like their music or not. And on my side of it, I have found with my experience, my connections, and my know-how, that it still takes me a minimum of $150,000 just in marketing and promotion to get an artist to the next level. That doesn't include their overhead. That doesn't include recording music. And it can be really costly to record music. You can pay, anywhere from $500 to $10,000 for a track, to rap over. And then once you get that track, you've got to mix and master it so that it sounds as good as everything else that's out there. And then once it sounds as good as everything out there, you've got to be able to stand out. So then now you've got to spend money marketing and promoting it to get to the next level. And just like any new product, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get attention, because nobody needs another rapper. Nobody needs another singer. Nobody needs another reggae artist. So you've got to really hit them with your message in a repetitive way so that they start humming along and singing your song, and then have enough interest to go check you out and see who you are and figure out what's your other music and what are your videos, and do I like this person or do I not like this person? Mm-hmm. And then hopefully enough people like you to the point where they buy your merchandise and attend your shows as well as stream your music.
So it's a lot of it's less of a there's relational marketing and there's transactional marketing. So it's more of a relational marketing tactic that you have to use. Okay. So like with music, I kind of think of music as like, I'm always thinking like, how can I make money in my sleep? I mean, we have a lot of people, working 9-to-5 jobs and wanting to escape the rat race. In music, it's actually interesting because like you can have people all across the world streaming your music while you're sleeping, making money, and so
mailbox money.
Yeah, exactly. And so how does that how do many of the artists that you work with kind of like process that passive income and just really being able to continue to compound on top of that,
Exactly. And all of them do, because that's the play. Like you want to get to a point where you're putting out enough music into the marketplace that people who like your music are going to stream a bulk of your music. And you want them to buy your merchandise from your website while you're sleeping. And you want them to really share your music with their friends while you're sleeping. That's the great thing about music, is you make it once and then it lives forever. You know, so whether somebody discovers your song in 2021 or 2030, you're still going to make money from that song. So that's the upside of music. And another upside of music is most artists are really doing this because it's inside of them. There are very few artists that are doing this because they're just in it for the money, like they're trying to hit a lick, because it's too difficult of a flip and it's too expensive of an industry for you to not really be all in committed to do this. Yeah. So most artists are letting out their passion, if you will, their music, and they're hoping that other people bond to it and attach to it, and they're hoping that they're actually helping people as well as making money. So it's kind of like a twofer, right? They're doing it because they want to change the world, or they want people to relate to them or help them get through a bad time or celebrate a good time. And then they also want to be able to create a living. Or I shouldn't say no, but very few artists really want to have a full-time job and do this on the side. Most people that make music, their goal is to make music for a living and become famous, and then really take that fame and apply it to other businesses where they can really maximize their return on investment.
Yeah, I see that a lot with Boosie, and how he has the chips out. I think he got sponsored by an alcohol company, and
he's got a documentary coming too that's really pretty fire.
Yeah, so I really respect that, and just how you can use that money to multiply, because we're all trying to get out of the rat race, and we're mostly taught that getting rich is the end of it. But really sustaining wealth, it takes a whole nother level of understanding of finances and all those different things. And so,
really investing can be a full-time job. I just find it very time consuming to figure out, okay, when some money comes in over here, where am I going to put it? What am I going to do with it? I find it a little time consuming.
Yeah, it is. It is, especially getting into which companies you're in, balance sheets, and what's the income statements.
Full-time job.
Keeping up with the news. Like it's a lot. It's a lot for sure.
It is.
So a lot of especially in the urban areas and stuff, me, I used to be in the streets. I used to sell drugs and stuff. A lot of my audience don't even know that, but I was an entrepreneur, and it was just and I think that relating music as well as with even the hustling type of culture is like an entrepreneur mindset. And many people that aren't meant for, going to work a 9 to 5 or, having someone over them telling them what to do, they have these entrepreneur spirits. And so what principles do you feel apply to music in relation to any other business in regards to entrepreneurship?
It's kind of the same hustle. And let me just take a step back and say that, when you were born as a child, you probably didn't say, I want to grow up and sell drugs. That probably wasn't your big aspiration. You did it because you had to. You did it because there wasn't a whole lot available to you, most likely. And I don't want to speak for you, but I just want your listeners to understand that in my world, most of the people that have come in off the streets, they did it because they didn't want to die or go to jail. And that's kind of the end of the road for somebody that's a successful drug dealer. You either die or you go to jail. And a lot of the folks that come into entrepreneurialism because they're seeing, I can make money on the streets, and the money comes kind of fast. But if I want to have any sustainability, then I need to take that entrepreneurial spirit and do something over here where I won't go to jail and where I won't die. And that's kind of music. Music is very...
And your wealth won't be taken from you either.
Exactly.
Unless it's taxes. The IRS might
well, they might, yeah. And they are the biggest gangsters out here. But for the most part, being an artist is also entrepreneurial, and it's especially hard because most artists are right-brained and not left-brained. And the funny thing about entrepreneurs is most entrepreneurs are left-brained. They're not usually artistic. They're not usually right-brained. So a lot of artists are picking up skill sets that aren't comfortable for them, and it's not innate. Where it was innate for you to be an entrepreneur, it's innate for me to be an entrepreneur. Most artists have to really, really work at it, and they want to make music, they want to perform, they want to get on stage, they want to be famous, but not all of them can figure out a way to get their music from their hard drive to their fan. And that can be a little bit challenging. And that's where I come in. I try to be more of the left brain coach. And I do a lot of free videos, as you found, to educate artists on how to do that. Because I find that if they're coached on how to do it, they can do it. But left to figure it out on their own, it can be really challenging for most. Not all. But most.
I'd wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, even for me, like as a kid, I wanted to be like a rapper, but it was like I was introverted, and then I'm like soft spoken and stuff. So like now I meet a lot of people, they don't even know I rap. Like they may be like, they wouldn't expect that I rap because I'm like so soft spoken, and then I was an introvert, and then when I started music, it was like, okay, now I gotta kind of force myself to like out of this bubble and stuff, and it's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable for sure.
But you were born at the right time, because I remember when I first got into rap, you could not be introverted. You had to have that it factor, whatever that was, that charisma, that ability to walk into a room and light it up just with your personality before you even spoke. And today, that's not true. Like today, you can still succeed as an artist without having that it factor, without like charisma through the roof. Of course, that makes it so much easier. Charisma makes it easier to do everything, but it's no longer a prerequisite for rappers. You can be a little on the quiet side or the shy side and succeed.
What would you say, like, kind of like the difference between like, so like obviously Pac was very charismatic, could come out, light up a room, but then you have artists like Nas, who's a legend as well, but he seemed kind of more, introvert, quiet from what I could see just from the outside looking in. What would you say, like, kind of how did Nas kind of, what did you observe, like, as far as like, how did he get his success? Was it just pure lyrics, or was it like,
No, he's actually charismatic. Like when you're in front of him, he does light up the room. Like he has a smile. It's almost like when he smiles, his eye goes sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
Yeah.
He actually does have the it factor. It's just a little bit muted in comparison to like a Ludacris or a Tupac or even a Tretch from Naughty by Nature. They were all guys that could come into the room and just stand there and light it up. Whereas Nas would kind of have to start talking or smiling in order to light up the room. You're right. He is a little bit more introverted than most, but he would say such prolific shit that people really could bond with what he was saying, and his skill level was just next level. Like an Eminem, like a Nas, like a Rakim.
Exactly. So do you have any statistics on like, so like, a lot of artists want to come into, and be a music artists or whatnot. And so I personally don't think there's a high percentage that get the lucky break of like going viral, versus like the artists that have to grind until they get to that level. What have you seen like that as far as like numbers or just
I don't have exact numbers because no one's done a study on that. I can tell you from my personal experience that your chances of winning the lottery or getting struck by lightning are better than your chance of real incredible success in the music business. There are basically 3 major labels with their subsidiaries. There's probably 10 or 12 altogether. And then most independent labels don't have more than 1 or 2 artists that are really super successful. So when you start adding up the number versus the number of artists they sign, you realize how hard it is to succeed in the music business.
Yeah, I guess that's good to know. You know, it's like the lottery. I've seen some artists, you know, especially out here. I think Lil Mosey, you know, he's from out here. He put a song out on SoundCloud, blew up, you know, and then he was able to make something from it. But I haven't seen that with a lot of other artists. I've seen the grind and the hustle, you know, and everything.
We were just talking about that in my office, because there was a whole era called the SoundCloud era, which was like 2016, 17, 18, 19. And a lot of guys got signed from it, like Smoke Perp and Trippie Redd, and, you know, just a bunch of folks, Little Pump. And not a lot of them have really had incredible success. And I'm surprised by that, because so many people were able to catch people's attention, but it never, like, it didn't catapult them to the Drake level, you know, unless you think NBA Youngboy is a SoundCloud rapper. And I don't consider him one, even though he's from that era, but he's like remarkably successful from that era, but I don't consider him a SoundCloud rapper. He really kind of broke on the streets more so than online.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
He had that sound too. He definitely had that sound, you know, that he's really, a lot of people follow his sound and stuff. I've heard it a lot.
And they like what he has to say. Like, he's an emo rapper. So a lot of people relate to what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he's one of the most streamed artists on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He got some big numbers out there. So what takeaways would you give someone, say like someone wants to be a music artist and they are working a 9 to 5, trying to do music? Obviously circumstances are different. I feel like a lot of my circumstance was like, okay, I was trying to do music, working 9 to 5. I got child support to pay, you know, stuff like that. And it's like, hey, I need to, you know, make sure I keep income, keep a job or something. And so what takeaways would you give someone along those lines in how to create multiple streams of income or whatever to kind of make this work?
I'm going to start by saying you've got to really want this, because this is not an industry where you can come in and just half-ass it and win. It's not going to work. You've got to really be dedicated. I love the idea of artists having an income, because you're going to need money to do this. My best suggestion to most artists is to find an investor and do some sort of a deal with an investor where they put up money to help you get to the next level. And then the last thing I'm going to say, which is going to make a lot of people really sad, is that the bulk of the music audience, the people that spend money on music, and by that I mean they're streaming the most, they're going to shows, and they're buying the bulk of the merch, are from 13 to 26 years old. That seems to be where the age of most of the fans, not to say 30-year-olds don't listen to music or 8-year-olds, but the people that are really spending the money, research has shown us that they're 13 to 26. So if you're older than 26, it's going to be really difficult to get that age group to bond with you, because you're going to be talking about things that they may not be going through and they may not relate to. So, you know, if you're in your 30s, you might be talking about your kids and getting them into good schools and your mortgage payment and your car payment. And that's kind of your struggle. But most of your fan base, their struggle is staying in school and doing their homework and getting peer pressured by other, their friends, their other age group, their they're getting bullied. They care about social media. Whereas, when you get a little bit older, you tend to be a little stronger and you don't really care as much about what people think of you, or at least we hope that you don't. So it's challenging when you start to get like into your 40s or your 50s and you decide that you want to rap, because the bulk of your fan base is looking at you like, wow, you look like my dad, or you look like my mom, and it makes it really challenging to succeed on a large scale. That doesn't mean you can't make money with rap. It just means if you want to become like the next Drake, you've got to kind of be young starting out so that you can build your career, because it really takes a good 2 to 5 years to build a career in the music industry. It's not fast at all.
Yeah, definitely. So you do have, we do have artists that come out, such as like, that are older. I think 2 Chainz was like 30 something, late 30s or whatever. Oh, okay. Yeah, not when he started, but when he started getting on my radar,
popped, yes.
Yeah. But then you got like artists like, and then you hear artists like Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, where their content is changing, to kind of reach a certain audience. Like, Jay-Z talks a lot about investing and stuff. I mean, the story of OJ was brilliant,
Yes.
and things like that. Snoop Dogg talks about relaxing, chilling, and
yes,
and so I've seen the
that
message change.
Do you think that if they were brand new today and nobody knew who they were, would they sell as much music, or do you think that they're growing with their fan base?
I think they are growing with their fan base for sure.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I don't think Jay-Z is picking up a whole lot of new fans.
Yeah, I agree. Because you may ask a young person and they don't even know who Jay-Z is. Sadly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You like the Brooklyn Nets, then he's over there. So where do you see hip hop? Foresee hip hop heading? I mean, like I was in the era, like I was 18 in 2006, and then I started doing music. MP3s were coming out, Facebook was hot, YouTube was starting out, all those things. And then, now we're, in this streaming era, with Spotify and everything. Do you see any new trends that may be coming up, that where hip hop may be headed, or music in general, the music business may be heading?
Yeah, I'm watching it splinter more and more. So artists who used to only focus on the DSPs, and DSPs are like Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, right? They no longer just focus on streaming music at the DSPs. They're focusing on doing deals with corporations like Samsung. They're focusing on Twitch and Roblox. They're focusing on NFTs. They're focusing on blockchain. There's so many different ways for artists to make money today, and they can be super big in that niche. Like during COVID, I read an article, and I don't know how true this is, but I'm assuming it's true because it was like the New York Times. So there were 70 TikTok performers or influencers, I'm not sure what to call them, that got record deals during COVID. So during COVID, people turned to platforms in order to get their music out there. So I'm like, wow, so 70 or 60 people got signed from TikTok. I'm anxious to see 3 years from now, is it going to be like the SoundCloud rappers where there's only 1 or 2 that are kind of still around? Or is it going to be like of those 70, 65 of them are going to become huge? I'm anxious to see, because as I read, somebody was kind enough to put a spreadsheet together of them all, right? And of them, I recognized like 3 names. And I'm in the music business. Like, this is my world. And I only know who 3 of them are. So that means there's 57 or 67 people that are famous in their own little circle. And they're making enough money in that circle that record labels said, pounce, okay, we want to be part of your movement. We see a way to make money from what you're doing. And that's amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think a lot of it is how just the music industry in general, especially in hip hop, like it was like limited, to how many people could, get a deal before, especially like in the 90s. I mean, it was based on
Yeah,
talent and stuff. Now you can have somebody who may not be as talented, but they can,
correct.
make it work
But the
in so
fans
many
love
different
them
ways.
because, I was watching this documentary on a swiper, like a scam rapper from Detroit, and it talked about, I think Atlantic ended up signing him. It talked about how much money he was making, not swiping credit cards, but rapping about the scams that he was doing. And I was kind of amazed by this because I had never heard of him. Yet he had enough of a fan base in his little lane to really eke out a living. And there's so many of those lanes. It's not just that one lane. It's not just scammers over here and TikTok over there. There's Twitch. There's so many different places where artists are getting discovered. Triller. There's artists on Triller and Dub Smash that are becoming famous in their lane and making money in their lane because they're reaching enough people in that little section of the world to support them and get to the next level. And that's just amazing to me. And I think that's where it's going to go. I think it's going to splinter more and more. I think there's going to be more independence than artists signing to major labels, because as it splinters, it's not as profitable as when there's one or two channels for an artist to come out, and a label can spend $5 million to market and promote to make 30 million. It's not, the flip isn't that great anymore. They're smaller flips, and you have to make more of them in order to be profitable.
Yeah, and the streaming services don't pay a whole lot either. So
they don't. They pay 0.007, or YouTube, I think, is 0.004 every time a song is streamed. It's not that profitable. You almost have to do other things like sell merch, like tour, like get your music into TV, film, and games. There's a lot of ways for artists to make money.
Yeah, they locked the game up with that one right there, because like people used to go out. I mean, one song, I mean, if you're paying 99 to $1.50 for a song, that's a lot of streams to really make up that amount of money.
Yes.
Yes. They locked the game up with that one.
Yes.
So where can people find your content, support your nonprofit? I know you have a couple events coming up. I actually signed up for I think it was Beehive monetizing YouTube. I signed up for that.
That's not my event. That's his event. But I have a YouTube channel, so I signed up as well because I want to learn how to be better at what I do, But people can find me. I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/thisiswendyday. So they can find a ton of free content about the music industry. The platform that I'm most active on is Instagram, and I'm at Rap Coalition on Instagram. And in my bio on Instagram are links to all of my websites. You can find out exactly what I do, not for profit, for profit. Everything's kind of linked there.
Yeah, you recently just had a live with Freeway Ricky.
Was it last night? No, the night before last. I've known him forever, and it's always awesome to do an interview with somebody that knows me really well, because it kind of goes a little deeper. Not that this isn't awesome, because I'm having a great time with you. But like, he knows so many of the things that I've done that he can ask me questions about stuff that I've forgotten. Like, he mentioned that, I taught him about branding and marketing, and I knew that I had, because he's thanked me for it in the past, but it's not something that stays in the front of my head. So when he reminded me, I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that, didn't I? Like, there's so much I've done that I've forgotten.
Yeah, that just shows where your heart is too. Like, you're not trying to put yourself on a pedestal. You're comfortable being in the background, helping this person, helping that person, keeping it moving, and people come back and thank you for it later. Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to thank you for coming on Wendy Day and being able to share this time with the audience and stuff. And so I
I'm so happy
appreciate
to
you.
do this. And I love that you're doing this. Like, thank you for doing this, because I know there's really not money in what you're doing. And you're doing this from the heart, just like I do what I do from the heart. And thank you for doing this, because you could be
Yeah.
doing something else and you're not. You're sharing yourself with your audience. And I love you for that. Keep up
Yeah.
the
I
great work.
actually, I tell my audience a lot, like when COVID hit, I had no savings, nothing. And I just
Same.
started picking up the books. I picked up the books and I was just like, yeah, I can't, I got a family, I got a wife, kids, and I'm just like, I can't live like this. And so I turned
No,
it
you
around,
had to do
started
something.
researching a lot. And now I'm just trying to put this knowledge out to the audience.
I
So,
love it. That's really the best way to learn, is to teach other people, because then it
yeah,
stays in your
definitely.
head.
Definitely. All righty, Wendy. Thank you. And we got to
Thank
stay
you,
in
love.
touch
Thanks
and
for your time.
appreciate you. All right.
Appreciate you too. Take care. Thanks again.